Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video that I've been wanting to do for actually a pretty long time now. I just had like a bunch of other videos that I wanted to do first, so I never really got around to doing this one, but finally we're going to talk about the best first designer handbag to buy. So I tend to get quite a few DMs about people kind of asking, okay, this is my first designer bag. Like, what do you think I should get? Do you like this one versus this one? So I figured I'd give you guys a few general tips. Of course, it's going to come down to just what you like and like what makes your heart happy. But here's some of my tips as far as purchasing your first designer handbag and starting your collection. First of all, let me tell you about my very first designer handbag that it was one that was purchased brand new. I had a few before this that I bought used handbags before, but they didn't work out for me very well. So I'm gonna count this as my first designer bag. It was the Louis Vuitton Neverfull MM. I don't think that the Neverfull is a bad first handbag because the price point is pretty good. It's from Louis Vuitton. It's gonna hold a decent amount of value to it, but it's just the fact that it's basic. Like, it's a very practical bag. It's great for use every day. It's perfect like that, but everyone has one. So that's the reason that I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as your first handbag. If you really love it, go for it by all means. Same thing like with the Speedy Bandolier. I think that it's a great bag. I just feel like it's a bag that everyone has. You know, why not mix it up a little bit? There are other options out there. So first of all, what I want to mention as far as brands go, I would say for your first handbag, stick to the top 3 major brands, and I'm going to say 2 of them more so than the other, but Louis Vuitton, Hermes, and Chanel are like going to be your 3 major groups, right? Now, Hermes, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going into right away. A lot of their bags that don't cost as much as the Birkin and the Kelly are just not that attractive to me. Like, I love the Pico tin, for example. I think that's a great bag, but I don't know if it's a great first designer handbag necessarily. So I would say let's push Hermes to the side. I'm not gonna necessarily be talking about Hermes this video, but Chanel and Louis Vuitton have some pretty good options. Now, if I were to get my first designer handbag today, I can tell you what I would get. I would get the Chanel wallet on chain. And that's for 2 reasons. So one reason is that you always need at least in my lifestyle, I always need like a crossbody bag for going out, something to throw things into. And for a while, I was only using wallet on chains to do that. Now I have the Chanel small, which I like a lot better. But I was using a Gucci wallet on chain to do that before. I loved it for a long time, but the Chanel wallet on chain is just gonna be a classic option that's going to look a lot better, and it's going to hold its value better over time, so that way you can resell it if you choose to down later in the future. But I think that it's just such a classic looking bag. It's actually one of my favorite bags, even though I don't have one. It's like one of my favorite looking bags. I think it's not practical for me right now, but if I were going back to go buy my first handbag back then, I think that would be a great choice. If you look at the price of it, you're buying a Chanel bag, even though it's a mini bag, it's a wallet technically. You're buying a mini bag, but you are buying a Chanel piece. It's your first Chanel bag. And I think that that's something that if you are looking to kind of stay in that type of budget, then it's going to be a great choice for you. I would say even looking at some of them on the pre-loved market specifically, because sometimes you can get them, they're a little bit worse condition than new. They're not perfect, of course, because they are pre-loved. But in that case, you can save some money by getting a bag that's less expensive, so you're not really doing a huge splurge on your very first designer item. Now, that would be my ideal choice. That's why I love the Chanel wallet on chain. I think that it's a great starter bag, especially if you want to get away from that Louis Vuitton Neverfull or Speedy. Those are not the only 2 bags that you can start your collection with. So that's a good one. The Chanel wallet on chain is the first one. The next one is a Louis Vuitton bag. I think that one of the best Louis Vuitton bags to purchase at this point is probably the Louis Vuitton Alma. I love the Alma. I have 2 Almas, and I think that they're perfect. I have the Alma PM. They were in my handbag collection video that I did a little while back. I'll link that up above too if you guys haven't seen it. But the Alma is just such a timeless and classy bag. I think that the Alma BB is a really good option too. Now, especially if you're looking for something that can be crossbody, something that's just going to be cute, you can pick it up and go, and it kind of fits a lot of different purposes. However, I feel like one mistake that people make when they're picking out their first designer handbag is that they want it to be used for every single purpose of their lifestyle. You don't have to do that. This can be a bag that you use, say, for going out. It can be a bag that you use for work specifically. It doesn't have to fit every single category, especially if you're looking to start a collection. So you can use a much less expensive bag, say during the daytime, if you buy a bag for evening or you buy a going out bag. Just make sure that the bag that you purchase as your first designer bag is something that you really like, that you really care about, that you think looks good. It doesn't have to suit every single purpose of your lifestyle. It just has to be something that you're going to use and that you're going to get your money's worth out of and that you enjoy using. Another popular first designer handbag, if we're going to go out of those like 3 major brands, another popular brand for first bags is YSL. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that as your first designer handbag. If you love it, then by all means go for it. The problem that I have with YSL bags is not the way that they look. It's not like the resale value or anything like that. Mainly the thing is that I have an issue with is the hardware. The hardware just doesn't seem very like substantial to me. And I can't, that's why I can't necessarily get with it. I feel like you're paying quite a bit of money for a bag. All the parts of the bag should feel like they're heavy and good quality. Like when you like take a look at a Chanel bag, I know it's a different price range, but the hardware feels heavy. The hardware feels good quality. The YSL bags, they almost feel like a little bit plasticky sometimes, and I hate to say that because I like the way that a lot of them look. I feel like price point wise, there's a lot of their mini bags that are a really good price that you can get for say $1,200 to $1,400. You're getting a great cute little bag that people are going to recognize when you go places if you care about that. It's something that they have a lot of nice going out bags, so it might be a really good option for you if you don't mind the fact that the hardware is a little bit lighter. It's just something that personally bothers me. But you guys might like that as your first handbag. Now, kind of going hand in hand with YSL, the reason that I'm choosing this next bag, and I'm gonna show you guys what it is because of the price point too. I think it's a super unique bag. It's the Bulgari Serpenti, any of the Bulgari Serpenti line. Like, I think that Bulgari is making some really, really nice bags, but I also feel like they kind of get slept on. I feel like people aren't really looking out for these as much as they should be. They're actually really beautiful, and the hardware is just so nice. It has this enamel coating over it. It holds up really, really well. One thing I would say about this kind is that you're gonna get some minor scratches on it because this is a smooth leather. I believe most of the Bulgari Serpenti line are smooth leathers. But it's just amazing. I love it so much. This is one bag that I would highly, highly recommend if you're open to it. Oh, I have like gloves in here that I didn't use yet. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you're open to it. They also come with like a little mirror on the inside too. It's just like the nice touches, and I feel like these are priced really well for what they are. It has this really thick chain. I get compliments on this bag everywhere that I go. And this is one that I would actually consider as a first designer handbag as well, even though it's not from one of those 3 major brands. The Bulgari Serpenti bag is one of my favorites, and I think that I think that with it being around, you can get one pre-loved for around $1,000. I think with it being at that price, it's a great first bag. It covers a lot of bases. You can take it out, wear it as an evening bag. You can run errands with it. You can do a lot with it. This is one that I feel like people do not talk about that often, but I think it's totally, totally worth it. Another brand that I would go for just based on the price is Gucci. I would go for something simple with Gucci. There are quite a few different options of their mini bags and their small crossbody bags that I do tend to like. I feel like a lot of their bigger bags tend to be too busy for me. They have too much going on. I just don't really like a lot of their larger bags, but their mini bags, if you go to their mini bag section, I think they have some really cute stuff there, and a lot of things they have are close to $1,000, sometimes under $1,000, and sometimes a little bit over. So those are pretty good options if you want to do something from Gucci. I personally kind of like Gucci. I'm not like the biggest Gucci fan ever, but some people just say like you should never buy a Gucci bag, like, oh, like that shouldn't be your first handbag. Yeah, as long as you're going with something simple from Gucci and you're around that $1,000 price mark, I think that that's a good thing because you're not spending too much money. You're getting the feel of a designer bag. I mean, it is a designer bag, but it's just not from one of the 3 that I'd recommend. But Gucci has the good prices though, so I feel like that's a great option too, especially if you find something that you have your eye on. I feel like the thing with Gucci is you have to fall in love with something. You either love it or you hate it, and if you fall in love with something, get it. That's still a great first designer handbag. Now, if you were looking to go up a little bit in price and you had a bit more money to spend, but you still want to get like the most deal for your dollar, I would definitely look at the pre-loved market, looking into vintage Chanel classic flaps. Now, vintage Chanel classic flaps, that's gonna be one of the bags that I've wanted for a long time. I actually don't have one. I have some newer classic flaps, but I don't have any vintage ones. I think that the vintage ones are absolutely gorgeous though, especially anything that's black that has gold hardware. Just make sure that it's in good enough condition where you are gonna wear it. I would definitely recommend checking Fashion File. That's my favorite place to purchase designer handbags that are pre-loved. They fully authenticate everything. They ship really fast. They have a layaway program, by the way, too. So I think you put like, it's either like 10% or 20% that you put down on the bag, and then you can pay. I think it's for like 60 or 90 days. I don't remember exactly, but you're not paying any interest or anything like that. It's just like you can pay as you go. It's literally a layaway program, and they ship the bag to you once you finish paying for it. If you needed to cancel, you can cancel. They do charge a fee to cancel the layaway, but I mean, either way, like if you don't have everything all like ready to go up front and you kind of want to like budget it out, you can do that too if that helps you. Now, kind of going hand in hand with that, I said I wasn't going to talk about Hermes, but I am going to talk a little bit about Hermes. Now, if you are looking to splurge a bit, I would recommend a vintage Kelly. The vintage Kelly prices are oftentimes not that bad if you find one that's not in perfect condition. So this one is my vintage box Kelly. This one was made a very long time ago. I don't remember the year right now, but I did a whole video on it. I forgot the year though. But I got this on Fashion File. The bag is not in perfect condition. I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but there's a lot of wear on the bottom. And on the handle, there's a little bit of wear too. I tend to wear a twilly over it, but I have it on my neck right now. So, but usually I wear a twilly over it. You're not able to tell the difference that much. And it didn't come with a strap. I bought a separate replacement strap for it. But this one was a lot less expensive than purchasing a Kelly that was made in the 2000s, 2010s, anything like that. This one is truly vintage, and it's box leather too. So box leather is one of the leathers that tends to scratch a bit more easily. It's one of Hermès's first leathers, from what I understand. So it's something that's not as sought after anymore, even though it's extremely beautiful. It holds up for a very long time because it was made a long time ago. So this is still a really, really great option for a first bag, I feel, especially because you can hook a strap onto it. You can carry it crossbody if you want to, if that's how you do things. You can put the twilly on it. It's just a very nice, well put together looking classy bag. I think it's a great first designer handbag if you have the kind of money to splurge on it and if you really like it. Now, those are the things that I like. Let me tell you about the things that I would not recommend. Let me read it. I'm going to read it off my phone. I'm sorry, I know that it's annoying, but I wrote my notes and I want to like show you. I want to just like read it to you guys. So I would say to avoid brands that are like Valentino, Balenciaga, even Prada. Even though I love Prada, I would still avoid that as your first designer handbag. I would stick to something that's, not to say it's not classic, but I would stick to something that's a bit more not that. Specifically, if you care about the bag holding its value pretty well, then in that case, you're going to want to stick to those main three, that Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and Hermes. You're going to want to stick to those. By the way, like the reason I recommend that Kelly also is because it's going to hold its value really, really well, even though it's vintage. So you can go back and sell it a couple years from now. You're most likely going to get all your money back. Of course, resale value isn't everything. So if you have a bag that you really, really like, just get the one that you really like. That's all that it's about, because you're going to be happiest carrying that one. If you do feel like you want to start a collection long term and that you may be kind of switching bags out, selling them, getting new bags, then you may want to keep resale value in mind, just because that's going to help you save money as you build your collection if you plan on doing so. Another thing to avoid, just to make sure that you don't regret anything, is to avoid having trend bags as your first designer bag. One example I would use of this is the Dior book tote. I feel like that's a super popular bag right now. It's not something that I feel is always going to be popular. I could be totally wrong. It could turn into a classic. I just don't see it happening that way, to be honest with you. But you know, things like that, like, or the belt bags, or like the backpacks, like the trendy type of backpacks, you know, I wouldn't really do those, just because that may not be as timeless as something that's a classic, like the Chanel vintage classic flap, or like getting a Kelly, like not even necessarily the splurge bags, even getting something like a Alma, you know, that's something that's going to be timeless. And I would rather have something like that to start my collection than to have a belt bag that was trendy for like a year. Same thing goes for the Dior saddle bag. It's making a comeback right now. Doesn't mean that it's going to be in forever. I talked about this in my designer bags that I won't be buying video. I just feel like Dior is having like a big boom right now. I wouldn't necessarily count on that as something that's going to be completely timeless. One bag that I would say is okay is the Lady Dior. I think that that's really classic. I think that's going to stay around for a really long time, because it has been around for a really long time. But the book tote, the backpacks, the Dior, just all the Dior stuff that's going on right now, other than that, I wouldn't really fall into that at the moment, especially if you're just starting out your collection. I would go for something more timeless. Like I said, if you stick with the three, you can't really go wrong. If you stick with the Chanel, Hermes, and Louis Vuitton, you can't really go wrong. You'll be good to go, just to be honest. But yeah, those are all my tips that I have for you guys as far as purchasing your first designer handbag. Hopefully this was helpful to you. If you do have any questions, drop them below. If you have any ideas for videos that you want me to do, let me know in the comments as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Also, follow me on Instagram if you'd like to. I will put my Instagram right here. It is SwanXDawn, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.